Hi, welcome. This is our 38th webinar. Today we'll be covering some marketing strategies that are a little bit outside of the box, a little bit unconventional, but I'm sure that with the acknowledgement that most of you guys sell art, are artists, or are in the business of selling wall art, these strategies will make sense for you and your business. Um, but before we get into that, I also want to share some news about from Lumaprints, as we're always glad to share with you guys the latest developments we have here. I don't know if you saw the newsletter, but last week or this week, I would say rather, we released our custom size metal prints for all sizes and even into larger dimensions that you're used to from us. So previously, we had I would say 24 by 36 as the maximum size for metal prints. We are now offering it from as small as 5 by 5 to as big as 60 by 40 inches. And so that's relatively big for the size of metal prints. And hopefully with that, you guys are able to then get your panoramics, get your square um, metal prints and get your rectangle prints, but the idea is that you can now have custom sizes. This was not previously available for a while because in the metal print industry, there was one distributor that does the metal for printing, but now we've been able to then have more customizability with it, thanks to research and development. But we're glad to offer that to you. And if you haven't tried metal prints, I suggest it, especially if your art aligns with pop art, bright colors, photography, or any imagery that lends itself well to metallic, because we do offer two types, which is the glossy white, which is a metal with a white top that the image is then printed on top of, but we also have a metal glossy silver, if you will, which is going to show the silver pop through on those. Um, as for any other more products, as of now, we're still set with the current ones we have, which is the canvas, frame fine art paper prints, canvas, and peel and sticks. Peel and sticks probably being our newest one. Of course, with all these products, we are always looking to strengthen and improve on the products that we do have at the moment. But should there be any new ones coming in from our company, we'll be letting you guys know as soon as possible. But thank you for the interest, Janet. Um, of course, if the metal prints do interest you, feel free to check out our website and start creating an order. It's as easy as that. All the custom sizes are now available. And if you are going to offer this for your store, we do have the template as well for the mock-ups if you're interested in having images of the metals on your store as well. Those right now are currently in some set sizes that we used to have, but we'll be offering panoramics at a later date for the templates at least. But if there are no further questions, or alternatively, if you think of a question, we could definitely answer those later in the webinar. Thank you. So in terms of last week's webinar, we did talk about customer engagement that helps build, loyalty to your brand and to your business. And we kind of talked about some ways that you could talk to your customers, build a good rapport with them, because the idea is that with a strong customer base, you get reoccurring purchases from them, and you just get a better lifetime value out of your customer overall. And so we talked about those topics. If those seem of interest to you, great. We do have those on YouTube, but we will be covering some topics that kind of overlap with today's webinar, which is kind of strategic marketing strategies and ones that I would say are not as conventional. Again, to reiterate, some of these things we'll talk about were from a bit of last week's and a bit of some that I think will bode well with you as an artist or an art seller. But let's just get into it with, I guess, kind of thinking about it this way. I know that when I talk to artists and people who sell art, marketing isn't really in the forefront of their day to day because they're focusing on, art and making it. And usually, if your main line of income is your creativity, you're probably going to be more focused on that aspect. And that's totally fine. And hopefully, with today's webinar, I could address, things that are helpful for artists who don't want to put as much effort into marketing and those who probably want to put that extra step into it. But the idea is that, these strategies make sense for you as sellers of art. But first, we could kind of cover the more general idea of marketing in the past 30 years, just so you guys have a little foundation in terms of what's going on within the marketing sphere, at least for print on demand and art sellers generally. I know that give or take 30 years ago, selling art and selling, your creative pieces wasn't the same as it is now. Reproductions and even how you market yourself is very different. And so one of the things that you'll notice is a lot of people are a bit more dependent on their phones, social media, and computers for how they shop and how they shop for art. Of course, you're still going to have a good reach of people who buy physical art, and if you have a gallery or you sell somewhere physically, you would know that, people still appreciate buying art in person. But in terms of online shopping, selling and distributing art there is very popular because for a lot of people, they might not have those same, opportunities to purchase art where they live, and at best have only a few stores that they can go to for art. But if they're looking for something more particular, then the online space is a great way for them. And I think that when it comes to the way we market towards customers who are shopping online, it has changed and it is developing very different from how traditional marketing looked back when. Back then, telemarketing, making phone calls, billboards, advertisements that were very loud and very notable were very popular and they worked. But now that social media and technology has advanced. When you go online, there's so many ads, and it could easily get overwhelming for a consumer and even someone who's looking to put marketing dollars towards advertising. And so I think one of the best things to think about is probably how you can think about inbound marketing. And, as previously stated, things like telemarketing, billboards, big ads, and ad spending, that's seen as more outbound, outward reaching to grab customers. But when we're talking about inbound marketing, this is more passive and or something that focuses on giving the customer the information, but they themselves usually come across it themselves first. So this can look anything like articles, videos, podcasts, SEO even. People don't really think about SEO as inbound marketing, but it is. It is, the idea that the customer is doing some of the work to find, either key terms or art that they like. But for you as the person selling the art, the key terms are going to more align with what they might be thinking about or what they might be searching for. And so when it comes to inbound marketing, I think it's worth looking into specifically SEO and also other ways that you can provide helpfulness to your customer. And that can be in the way of reviews, articles, and how-tos. And I know that it might not make sense. You're like, well, I want to sell to new customers or other customers. But I think when you think about how your conversion rates are, say how many people are visiting your website versus actually making a purchase, these are people who are window shopping on your store. And so think about how you want to have information readily available for them to be able to review. Um, Even putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, think about whenever you're shopping for something you want for your home or something you want in general, but online, because it's so vast, you're kind of differentiating buying from one person to the other by virtue of the information that is given to you and also the quality that is seemingly, seen on the product description and or what a lot of people tend to check is the reviews as well. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about your marketing strategies and consider that inbound might be most suitable for you, or at least it should be the baseline of where you start for marketing. I think that as we go into how you can be unique and creative with your ads, it's very important that when you do decide to add spending dollars to your marketing, that is, start working on outbound marketing. When you do think about these, how to make ads and how to create campaigns, if you will, it's not so much as just being informative, but you also have to be very unique in how you display that type of information. So kind of to differentiate the two, inbound, you want it to be informative, you want it to be very pertaining to your product and giving as much information as you can provide, alongside with other testimonials and other social proof, whether that's social media or other customers. But when it comes to outbound marketing, then we're looking at how we can not only sell the product through unique and more, I would say, thoughtful advertisement, but it's not so much about the information that's given to you immediately, but more so about the impression that someone might get. So either striking imagery or maybe a different type of methodology to your advertisements. Interactive advertising also works really well with selling art, and we'll get more into it. But when it comes to outwardly stretching yourself out to meet other customers or meet a new customer base, we could definitely delve into the unique projects that you can work on and something that might be viable for you as someone who might not be really into marketing. And kind of as a I would say to preface all of this, I kept in mind that for starting marketing, you probably don't want to put a lot of ad dollars into it. So hopefully these are more economical ideas of putting yourself out there and they make more sense for you if you're on a budget. Um, and so, kind of going into it, I think one of the first ideas you can do for, marketing yourself to a larger customer base or meeting new people who will be interested in buying your art, is one, offering your art to local businesses, whether at a discounted price or seen as something of a charitable donation. And I know that initially it might not make sense, but hear me out. It's kind of the idea that, you're one, integrating yourself with the community, one that already has a um, benefit from already hiring local artists or using the art of local artists in their own, I would say, interior decoration or in their own installations at their business, restaurant, venues, whatever. But another thing is that when you do offer it at a discounted price or even give it away, it's worth it because then you could easily interject like, hey, can I also have a QR code that sources it back to me and my store or my website? Or you can also, have some sort of, I would say, segment on the side of the art piece in that installation. And this could be art either in the form of murals and or you could offer art that you might be taking out of your rotation from your gallery, or at first you're interested in selling it, but maybe this could be another opportunity for you to just simply give it at a more discounted rate to a place that you can definitely put, instead of putting ad dollars towards it, you can then in turn just put your art there and think about those venues and restaurants and or even places like City Hall. These places have a lot of foot traffic, and oftentimes they love putting artwork that is local to their area. And when you think about how sometimes I would say sales breakdowns are by region. From what I've seen personally, I've seen that locally people tend to have the biggest customer base relative to their area, usually because the art makes sense for them if their art is relative to the place that they grew up in or the place that they live in, and or because by virtue of people who know them and are invested in their artwork in the area. So I think it's already a great starting point to start local and branch off from there. Of course, if you want to go into other cities or other areas, that's perfectly great too. But at least with the local sphere, there's already an incentive for those businesses to want to have your art in their place. So that's one method that you can consider for marketing. Another type of marketing that I don't think a lot of people think about as marketing, but I would consider a very strong way of soft power or soft power marketing would be offering painting classes or painting sessions in person or online. And I know at first it's like, what, you're offering maybe a different service in your head. But the idea is that once people are enamored by you or see your art and the type of things that you provide for people, it makes them more inclined to purchase your art. And so, even as simple as an online course or even a paint and sip in person at the park, there are many ways you can go about offering courses, and it's not through the conventional schooling method either. Online spaces and even physical spaces, there's many opportunities for you to portray and offer art classes, and this could be as easy as offering just a quick study on how to draw a specific flower, or even what I've seen some people do is do outlines of their artwork and people can paint them in. And during these sessions, you get to know your customer base better, or people who are interested in your art at the first place. They'll get to know you better, and it just gives a really good impression to people. And if you ever post these interactions or events online, it lets customers know that you really care about your methodology, and you're seen, I would say, as someone who it has a lot of, I would say, legitimacy within your art niche. So if you're offering courses, then you must know a lot about the technique and the style that you're painting in. So people see that and they add that to the idea that, oh, this person's art is really good. They're even offering courses, which, again, this is kind of reinforcing social proof of you as a person and in turn your art and your brand. Um, Another thing to do, which I think about most artists don't do enough of, and at first it might seem a little tedious, but it's video content. And I know that some people might not seem, might say, well, I'm not too savvy with the camera, or I'm camera shy. And there are many reasons why some artists might seem apprehensive at first. But when it comes to video content, one, it could be very simple, and two, it can be very low effort. And oftentimes, what people really want to see is just someone in their creative processes going through the kind of steps to the completion of their art. And so I feel like even if you don't show your face or you're not using a high-tech camera, even a smartphone with an overview of the canvas as the main focus is good enough for a lot of people, where it really draws them in and gives them a sense of like, oh, I'm really watching a person at their craft. I want to support them. It's a way to kind of connect the person to the art piece, not just because they see it on a product listing, but because they saw the person making it draw it from its fruition. And even when you are like thinking about video editing and cutting, there's a lot of programs that make it so much easier these days. I promise you that. Beforehand, there would probably be only a few programs with a paywall too, but nowadays there's a lot of free applications. One of the ones that are used frequently are CapCut, which lends itself well to TikTok and Instagram and YouTube as well. So, like those programs, they're really free, and they don't require anything too complicated, and you could easily cut your film and have it ready for upload. And again, these can be things where I feel like other businesses probably struggle with in terms of creating video content. If you as an artist are making an art piece every other week or often, try to share those, I would say, speed paints or compilations of your art process on every time you make an art piece. And again, it doesn't have to be anything too complicated. I will cap it at 3 minutes and um, see how other people are doing those speed paints and how they're doing Let's Paint with Me. I know if you ever are in this, I would say the realm of TikTok, for example, what a lot of artists tend to do is that they show the kind of the startup of the art piece. They talk a little bit, offer some commentary, and then sometimes, for the sake of grabbing people's attention, they don't finish the piece, and you're gonna have to go onto their page to see the completed work because it's on a part two. But there are many ways to go about creating video content for your art. And as the very initial start, when you get used to it, it could be relatively easy and it shouldn't be that much effort in practice. So consider that and know that it doesn't really cost much, if anything at all, to post video content. And lastly, one of the ways you can market yourself as an artist definitely is through article write-ups or interviews. So I think that with offering either your own articles about something informative that you know of, or even talking about a creative process. For example, if video content isn't your specialty, nor are you interested in it, if you're more interested in maybe writing about your artistic process, then a lot of people will gravitate towards those types of articles. Again, it's the idea of emotionally building a connection with your audience and making them more inclined to make a purchase. And also consider interviews, even business forward pieces. Say you really know how to do something really well in the realm of business and you want to share that information with customers or and other artists. It just adds to your, I would say, legitimacy as an artist even more so than usual. And even for the passerby, if they see that you're offering business courses or you're offering tutorials on certain things to for art processes or business processes for that matter, um, people will be more inclined to check you out and see what your store is all about. And again, the idea is that you're not spending that much marketing dollars onto your marketing campaigns or your marketing strategies. Also, hopefully those last four strategies make sense for you as an artist, that they're not too different from what you are used to doing, and if not, something that you can adapt into your day to day. But do let me know if you guys have any other things that have worked for you. This is just me talking to artists and also seeing what has worked for artists that we worked with in the past. So if you guys have anything else, it's great to share those as well. But at least those four have worked really well with some of the artists I've seen sell really well online. Um, and then when it comes to overall campaigns and moving away from those ideas, I know we talked last week about the gamification of um, coupons and reward strategies to engage your customers. It's no different from how to, I think, capture more, I would say, customers. And if you're looking for new customers outside of that, once you start incorporating trivia, rewards in your social media website as well, or social media platform of choice, those will be very useful. And it will just create other moments where you can interact with new customers. Um, Even with things as simple as small treasure hunts, for example, it'll be great. I will say that there could be other ways that you can offer rewards as well on social media, whereas a lot of other businesses struggle to provide rewards because it gets tricky in terms of the legal logistics when it comes to offering money. Um, I would say that at least if you're offering art pieces or quick sketches, it'll be a lot easier for you to give those giveaways or provide contests. In my sphere, what I've seen artists that I follow do is that if they hit a certain follower count, they'll do a art giveaway, and those are usually ones that help them amp up to get to the next follower count for them. So if they reach their 10,000 follower or they're nearing the 10,000 follower count, then they'll start providing a giveaway. So if more people follow, then once they reach that goal, they'll get a random follower to then either have a commission piece for them or provide them an art piece for free. But these are some small things that you can do that are at virtually no cost. Um, Another thing, again, I know earlier we talked about the social proof of reviews, but I don't think a lot of people think about it as content when they think about reviews on their website. And in turn, it's kind of a form of marketing when you have reviews from multiple people. I know last week we talked about how you can obtain those reviews, but when we're talking about, I guess, user-generated content, reviews are no different, and also how you can encourage people to then post about you on different social media websites, such as I would say YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and the like, and Facebook as well. Um, Moving from there, I think that if you have a social media website that you haven't ventured into, it's worth testing it out or testing the waters, because sometimes if you notice yourself entering like kind of I would say it's hard to find people interact with your works on a certain platform. I think one of the biggest gripes people have with Instagram is that it's very oversaturated and it's hard to get I would say interactions there, because if you put a tag in, for example, you might get spammed by some bots, or if you go on Twitter, there's also bots there and it might not be useful for you, and you realize that maybe the interactions you get there aren't as fruitful for all the effort you put in. Um, from that, I would suggest take a step back and go into other social media platforms and at least give them a whirl and see how they work for you, because who knows, maybe the other social media platform that you haven't tried before might just work for you. And if it works for you, it might work for your messaging style, or maybe how you want to then share the type of art that you do and how you want to execute it. Because as we all know, not every social media platform is the same. On Instagram, it's very image forward. On Twitter, it might be more messaging, and I would say interactive approach is more strong over there. Pinterest, you're going to be more photo forward, but sometimes things get lost with the oversaturation of other artwork. Um, and then TikTok, it's more video content forward, and the algorithm is still something that's kind of complicated for people to really latch onto. But there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to each social media platform. And I think that when we're entering the idea of like, well, how can I market myself better? How can I reach new audiences? If you notice yourself in a slump for one particular social media platform, I think it's time to just give it a whirl on other places and just venture out and see what might work for you elsewhere. Um, I think that when we're talking about conventionality and, doing things differently, um, there are some social media platforms that are well established. If there are new ones coming up, it's good to be there early and kind of figure out if it might be the one for you as well. Who knows, maybe even places that are less conventional, like Tumblr, might work for you, if you find that your artwork bodes well with the fan or the user base on that platform. Um, Another thing to think about, as well as I previously covered just a little bit in passing, is video content. But in turn, we could also think about podcasts, events, and other platforms that, aren't initially intuitive to an artist. I know for podcasts, if you ever do art or if you ever draw and in your pastime, like me, it's more of a hobby. I like to listen to content and I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I'm pretty sure people are listening to it just as much as any other person, but I know artists do listen to a lot of them. But when you do podcasts or you participate in podcasts, there's something you could bring forward to the table. I know that a lot of us create content that's image forward because you want to sell your product at the end of the day, but people also want to hear more about you as a person. And you could talk about your brand and your thoughts when it comes to your creative process, and also any other parts that you think are interesting to share. If you have an interesting, memory or an interesting story from, your experience as an artist or an experience outside of that, it helps to benefit to push that in a podcast or collaborate with people who do host podcasts. And I know that when it comes to podcasters, they're always looking for people to interview. And there are a lot of places where they always have art as the forefront. So you as an artist, I don't think it's too far-fetched to actually participate in one. And then, of course, when it comes to events, don't bar yourself from events, especially if the booth is low cost or free. Take every opportunity you can to share and participate in events that are local to you. Here in California, I know that Laguna has a really big presence of art fairs. And even in LA, of course, we have the other art fair. We have art fairs that happen regularly for different niches. I know that a lot of coastal artists do really well here in this area because there's always a lot of beachside art fairs. And so always look into your area of where there are hosting small or even big art fairs. And I would suggest starting with the ones that are low cost to run a booth. I know that for some, they get really competitive, and I've seen prices as far as like $600 for a booth, even $1,000 for a booth. So maybe if you're starting out, start with the smaller ones just to kind of get an idea of how you test the waters if you haven't done events before. I know that everyone's first exhibition or first art fair is always really overwhelming, and there's always questions of like, how many things do I sell? And what do I sell? And how do I go about displaying my booth? And so if you start with at least a small fair or one that has low stakes, if you will, it's a lot better to start there and kind of see where you can improve upon and then take that knowledge into a bigger booth if you feel like that's your next progress and marketing. I know that for some people, they don't want to bother with the online sphere when it comes to marketing, in which case, art fairs are a great place to put yourself forward in and start building a customer base. Um, And then I guess thereafter, kind of going back from, I would say, the physical realm, but going back to the online space, when we're talking about metrics and how you could then in turn see whether or not these campaigns for you are successful or not, it's really a case by case basis. For example, when it comes to, say, you decide to donate your art to a local business or a local government facility, um, you could then see how many people, as a result, have clicked on the QR code that you placed there or have clicked on the link that you provided on the segment there. I would suggest a QR code only because you can include a very unique link that is specific to that campaign. If you're familiar with Google Analytics and links as well, note that if you ever want to see how many people come from a certain place to go check out your store, if you start a campaign, you could create a link that's unique to that I would say that source. And from there, you can see how many people come from there. So, for example, it'll be, your website's name plus some numbers, but that's going to make a unique number. So whenever someone clicks that specific link, it's going to, let you as the person on the back end know what the analytics are like. So say 20 people clicked on or took a picture of the QR code by your artwork over there at the, venue, you could see then how many people visited in total, and you know that it's 20 people. And then from there, you could kind of see their process from starting to visit your website to making a purchase. So things like that are very useful. I would say a starting point in general would be creating some KPIs or key performance indicators for yourself. And these could start small or they can be ambitious, depending on who you are as a person and what type of data you would like to see. But if you say, I want to see 20% increase in how many people visit my store, or alternatively, I want to see a 10% improvement on conversion rate, then you need to see how some actions are going to in turn affect those KPIs or those rates that you're looking towards too. When it comes to return on investment, of course, when it comes to things physically like I would say art fairs, you kind of know what the return on investment is. If you spend $20 on the booth and $100 on creating prints, then you could just, subtract whatever you spent on however much you made that day or that fair. The same could be applied on an online platform. Say you spend a good amount of coin on advertising dollars for a specific campaign that you feel like would be very strong. See how much you spend and then see in turn how many people arrive to your store and decide to make a purchase. Note that with all of these types of factors in mind, these campaigns have different, I would say, KPIs, and it varies person per person. I, as a person, can't really consult with you on face value how much you should get in a return on an investment or what your KPI should be. But the idea is that, you creating your own objectives and seeing how it works for you. Um, and then lastly, when it comes to, I guess, seeing the growth over time and how future campaigns will look as a result to your things, it's worth looking into when you're done with your KPIs. And if you see that, you haven't met your objectives, then it's worth then looking to see how you can improve upon those objectives and how you can alter your methodology as a result. So say, you're not seeing the numbers you want to see after you've done, X, Y, and Z. From there, either one, you could see whether or not you want to do A/B testing, that is two different types of executions on a specific action, or alternatively, ditching the action altogether and doing something else. But the idea is that you're responding back to the data that you're receiving, and from there, you're improving upon it. And so, even with things that require little to no quote unquote traditional marketing, such as, offering courses or encouraging reviews or things of that sort, you could still see how those return on investments look like to you. And as a result, you can decide whether or not you want to continue putting efforts into it or changing the trajectory of where you want to land on in terms of objectives and or change your execution of those said I would say, campaigns. But that's kind of a overall encompassing idea of how to reimagine marketing, especially for people who drop ship wall art. If there are any questions, please let me know. As always, we do have the Google form, and I didn't receive any questions this time around, but if you have any questions here in the webinar, please let me know. And then, of course, if you came later into the meeting, by all means, we do upload these onto YouTube thereafter. If you don't want to miss it, feel free to subscribe. There's also a bell, I believe, at the bottom of the videos where you can click on the bell and it'll inform you when there's a new video uploaded. I know that every time we upload a video, it's not always the same day or consistent. That's just because sometimes I get busy here, so I don't always upload them the day of or the day after. So if you ever want to know when we do upload them, I suggest clicking the bell for notifications on YouTube. And of course, if you missed a bit of this webinar, we'll upload it latest next week. Yeah, and I hope that this information was helpful for you. Again, if you came in later, just note that we now offer custom sizes for metal prints. Previously, we had set sizes just because of I would say, the product's limitations to it, but now we're offering up to 60 by 40 and sizes as small as 5 by 5. So we have a good range of products now for metal prints and a good range of sizes, both in glossy white and glossy silver. I think there are no questions, which is great. If you do have any questions lingering or you're still typing, no worries. I will still be online here until 10:45. But for now, we could also conclude this meeting. So thank you guys for coming. I'll see you guys in the next webinar, and I think the next webinar will be our last one for the season. Thereafter, we'll take a small break between this season and the next one, just so we can come up with more ideas, contact people and the like, and create scripts, of course. But if you guys enjoyed this, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time.